The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Forest Grove, Oregon, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34890. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new vehicle. Just under the front bumper, you'll find 2 tow hooks on the passenger and driver's side frame rail. As we move up onto the bumper face, you'll find dual air horns. Just inside of that location, you'll find your mechanical siren, and then also on the bumper face, 2 forward-facing emergency warning lights. As we move to the outer edge, you'll find your electronics siren and PA speaker. And as we move up onto the bumper extension on the passenger side is where you'll find your fire bell. Moving toward the center, you'll find a tubbed storage location for your front bumper load. And then just to the right of that in the image is where you'll find your 2.5-inch discharge, which is a swivel. Let's move up onto the cab, first starting with the outer edge marker turn indicator. Just inside of that location, you'll find your headlights housing a low and high beam headlight. The high beam will be on the inside. Moving directly above that location of the headlights, you'll find emergency warning lights forward facing. You'll also find windshield wipers. On the outer edge, you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. As we move toward the center, you'll find a forward-facing camera. And just above that camera, you'll find also a floodlight located in the section above the camera. As we move to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find your clearance lights. And then moving all the way up to the very top, over the driver's seat, you'll find your Opticom and emergency warning light bar on the very top section. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the items that we just took pictures of. Here are your emergency warning lights, a top view here of that tubbed storage location. .5-inch swivel discharge, foam capable. Just a general view here of the side of the vehicle. We'll start with the driver's side cab area. First, starting with the axle, you'll find a sight gauge located in the very center, Alcoa wheels, and also Goodyear tires. As we move to the rear, you'll find 2 caps located behind those are going to be your positive and negative battery leads. Moving up from that location, you'll find side-facing emergency warning lights, and then also a side-facing camera on the A-pillar. As we move to the front section and rear of the cab, you'll find a latch keyed for opening the access doors, and then also grab handles directly above that location. As we move to the very center, your vehicle does have TAC4 suspension. As we move to the rear of the axle, you'll find your plug-in location, which is an auto eject 30 amp plug. It also has an indicator and an air inlet. At the very top, you'll find emergency warning light. You'll also find a controllable spotlight, and then also a side-facing scene light. Moving to the very rear of the cab, at the very uppermost corner is where you'll find your water tank level indicator. Let's take a look at some close-ups. First, starting with the auto eject. This is your shoreline inlet 20 amp. You'll also find an air eject and also battery maintain information when plugged into shore power. As we move to the rear of the cab, you'll find door locks, electric windows, and then these labels indicating all of our safety and warning information on the door panel. As we look to the rear, you'll find 4 distinct locations here with netting and LED lighting inside. There are 3 seats located across the rear wall. All of those have SCBAs. On those forward-facing cabinets here, or rear-facing cabinets, you'll find the compartment light switch for each of those. Looking directly overhead at the air conditioner unit. Let's go back outside. We'll start with the pump panel in the upper left-hand corner. First, we'll gain access into backboard storage location. This is accessible from the passenger and also driver's side. There is a seatbelt release mechanism. It's the orange strap. Gain access to the 2 crosslays. I would like to point out there is a warning label here regarding entanglement hazard. Because of those lines coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. Let's move just to the right on the pump panel. We'll start first at the very upper left-hand corner with your foam operating instructions and also Husky 3 foam specifications. On the right, you'll find a warning label here regarding fall. Always face the vehicle when climbing on it. As we move downward from this location, you'll find your pump intake. This is the master gauge. And then just to the right, you'll find your pump discharge master gauge. In between the two of those gauges are your test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They're currently plugged and those are for testing purposes. Let's move now just to the right where we have a set of switches. We have panel lights, an indicator for your pump is okay to engage, and then all of our scene lights located subsequently downward from that location. As we move all the way to the left side of the panel, you'll find this black audible alarm. The outer edge of the bezel does allow you to dampen that sound. This is your Husky 3 control module. Moving just to the right of this location is the foam level for tank A, which is your foam tank. And then as we move to the right, you'll find your pressure throttle governor. Moving further to the right, you'll find your fire pump primer. This is a push to prime air prime. There is instructions just beneath 1000 RPMs for best practices. Moving further to the right is your engine cooler. This is a twist, not a pull. And then as we move further to the far left, this is your deluge discharge. Moving further down on the pump panel, we'll find additional gauges and valve control. Moving just to the right, I would like to point out this warning label. Pressure hazard, caps may be under pressure, be cautious when opening them. As we move down, these are the two 2.5 inch discharges located on the driver's side. And then moving further down just to the right, once again, pressure hazard, but I'd like to point out this is your large diameter intake. And then moving all the way to the far right, tank to pump. Let's move downward on the pump panel now, identify a few more items. First, starting on the left with this placard. This is your minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. Also a warning information here that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment and only after they've received training. Just beneath that, you'll find the auxiliary 2.5 inch inlet. It is a ball valve with female inlet. And as we move to the lower left, this is going to be our foam draft fill location. We do have a warning at the very top. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. Moving just to the right, lift and turn latch will gain us access behind this pan door. We'll cover that in just a moment. And then also as we move further to the right, we'll find all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's take a look inside. This is your foam fill operations. The yellow handle instructions here on the back side of the door. And then we'll cover the rest of the pump panel as we move to the right. All the way to the right, red placard. This is your Watrous plaque indicating your pump type, transmission type, and also capacity. As we move down to the far right, you'll find your main pump drain, and then at the very bottom, you'll find your manual pump shift. And then once again, across the very bottom, all of our color-coded labeled discharge drains. As we move just below the pump panel area, we'll find our foam pump discharge drain and foam pump intake drain. Here's a close-up 1,500 GPM pump capacity placard. This is your minimum operation maintenance schedule placard. General view now as we move through the rest of the body compartments. Roll-up doors, you'll see inside LED lighting. This happens to be a pull-out tray on the bottom side in the very back corner of the wall. Just on the side of the vertical sheet is where you'll find a 12 volt plug-in. As we move just in front of and rear of the axle, folding wheel chocks, we do have two pan doors located just in front of the axle and to the rear of the axle. We'll take a look at those also. As we move up above the axle, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. And as we move all the way to the very top, we have a side-facing floodlight. Moving all the way to the very back section here against the wall, vertical side sheet, is where we're going to find our storage location for our drafting tubes. And then all the way to the very rear of the apparatus, we'll find that emergency warning light, 360 degrees. This was in that first compartment, 12 volt access, barrel style. As we move to the axle area just in front, SCBA bottle storage and oxygen bottle. As we move to the rear, we'll find our ultra low sulfur diesel fill location. And then we'll also have a flap that will expose the blue cap, which is your DEF tank. We'll continue moving through the rest of the compartments now. First to the very rear compartment, roll-up door, dry deck material, LED lighting inside. As we move inside this compartment, you'll also find shoreline outlets. There are 2 located here on the side rear wall. Let's move around to the rear of the apparatus. At the very bottom, just under the tailboard, we'll find 2 clearance lights located on the right and left. Located within inside the rear section of the bumper, you'll find your marker lights. As we move to the outer edge, you'll find the rubber armed style marker indicator light. And then as we move to the center, you'll find at the very top, emergency light, brake light, turn, and reverse. There are also 3 fold down straps for gaining access to the upper portion of your vehicle. And we also have in the very rear section here, rear facing emergency warning lights. We do identify 2 2.5-inch discharge ports to the rear area. Located in the very center, you'll also find warning labels. This happens to be a warning label regarding if you're climbing on the vehicle, always face it. And then also entanglement hazard and pressure hazard warning. Camera located directly in the center, recessed into the body. Let's take a look at some close-ups. First, those are those fold-down steps, and then also the rear scene lights. As we move to the center, those warning labels regarding not riding on the vehicle while it's in motion, facing the vehicle while climbing it, and also entanglement hazard and pressure hazard. As we move to the very rear roll-up door, you'll find an adjustable shelf in the upper portion and a pull-out tray in the lower section. We're now looking at the rear 2.5-inch discharges. This happens to be the officer side. As we move to the very top section, you'll find hose bed dividers located, which are movable. You'll also find these yellow diamonds in the very top section. This is indicating a walking surface and the edge of that walking surface. As we move more toward the dunnage, you'll find the top fill location for your water tank, and then also top fill location for your foam tank. As we move into the water tank area, you'll find inside strainer and overfill location. As we move to the foam tank, you'll find this warning label regarding do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. As we move to the dunnage area, you'll find your Husky 3 foam system. This is the hydraulic reservoir for it. And then as we move to the very top section, you'll find your master stream device. Your vehicle is equipped with an extended gun, allowing you to raise the height of the master stream device. There are instructions on the right-hand side. Fill location for your hydraulic fluid for your Husky foam system. And then as we move to the very center, you can see this is your release mechanism for your extended gun. As we move to the cab, I would like to point out this is a non-walking surface. Therefore, we do have some warning indications here. There's no railing, and it's also maybe slippery, so that's why we have this warning label here. As we move to the outer edge, you'll see those yellow diamonds in the specific area for walking. And then as we move now down to the ground level, this is going to be your ladder in the deployed position. You can see you have a ladder on the very back side, and also a 24-foot extension and a 14 roof. And then also some hand tools located slightly above the ladder location. Just a variety of different images here, the deployment of the ladders. Let's take a look now at the side view of the apparatus. We'll focus in on some of the items within the side of the body area. First, let's start with at the very top section, emergency warning light on the rear. That's that 360-degree light. Also at the rear, just over the axle, on the side over the axle, you'll find a side-facing emergency light. And then at the very top section, you'll find a side-facing scene light. I would like to point out this warning information: extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious where you park your vehicle and be wary when you're in regen mode. As we look inside the compartments, we'll take a look. First, roll-out tray, release on the lower right. D-handle gains access to the toolboard. Once the toolboard is fully open, it will lock into position, requiring you to lift the latch mechanism here to restore it back to its original position. We do have SCBA bottle holding. They do have retaining straps also inside, and DuraSurf, so that those bottles will ease in and out of that compartment. Once again, extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious where you park your vehicle, especially during regen operations. As we move to the very forward compartment here, just in front of the axle, you'll find adjustable shelving, LED lighting. You'll also find shoreline outlets and also 12-volt DC outlets directly in the center. There's one on each side, front and back, and then the 12-volt is directly in the center in the upper portion.
As we move down to the very bottom section, you'll also find 12-volt barrel style. This is in the lower portion of that same compartment. 2 of those, one in the front and one in the rear on the vertical wall. Quick view here of the entire side of the pump panel. Let's go ahead and start identifying a few items within this area. First, we'll start with a cross lay at the very top. The orange strap allows you to gain access to those cross lays, and also just be advised, because of those hoses coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. As we look in the pan door, you'll find the hydraulic oil reservoir and then also the manual pump for that hydraulic reservoir, and then also your relief valve, which is adjustable. There are instructions on the placard itself. Let's go ahead and move down lower on the pump panel itself. We'll identify a few more items. This is going to be your passenger side main pump inlet, and then just to the right you'll find a pressure hazard warning regarding extreme pressure hazard, because caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when removing them. You'll also find your large diameter passenger side discharge. It is the green discharge. As we move forward to that location, you'll also find a 2.5-inch discharge. Moving down from this location, on the left, you'll find all of our color-coded discharge drains. And then as we move just to the right, you'll find your auxiliary inlet. This is for the driver's side, ball valve, and female coupling. As we move to the pan door, you'll find your powered equipment rack. We do have instructions here for raise and also for lower. There's also some danger information here regarding that moving rack. A master switch for powering it on and off, and then your options for either up or down on the lift position. Let's move forward to the front bumper area. On the bumper extension, this is where you're going to find the, behind the pan door is where you're going to find your powered equipment rack for raising and lowering. This is for your cab. Also have instructions here for danger, master, on and off, and a lift up or down. Make sure you ensure that all items are secure in the cab before tilting the cab. Let's go ahead and look inside the cab area. As you can see across the very rear wall, we have 3 fold-down seats that do have SCBAs seated in the back wall. As we look overhead, you'll find push on and off white or red lens lights. We're now to the door itself, and once again affixed to the door panel, we'll find all of our safety and warning information, electric windows, and door locks. As we move down to the very front section of the vehicle, this is in the officer space. Once again affixed to the door panel, all of our safety and warning information. Let's go ahead and move inside the cab now. This is directly in front of the officer position. Your vehicle is equipped with an SRS supplemental restraint system airbag. As we move to the left of the officer position, you'll find a switch panel. Within that switch panel, you'll find driver side scene lights, front scene, officer side scene lights, driver alley lights, and officer alley lights, and your bell control. When any of these are depressed, you'll find the outer edge of that bezel does illuminate. You do have future switch locations if you need. Let's go ahead and look overhead in the officer's position. Once again, this is the WeCan X, which is control of your spotlights located on top of the vehicle. As we move more toward the center of the cab, you'll find your intercom system, and you'll also find, kind of hidden in there, you'll find the siren and PA speaker, and then on the back side, you'll find your seatbelt information. Close up here of the control module head, there's also one on the driver's side. This is your fire comm system. Moving to the left, this is directly in the center. You'll find seatbelt information, red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted, green indicating they're in the seat and belted. This is your PA system and electronic siren control module. As we move overhead, you'll find your FireComm wireless control system. And then as we move to the very left side of the officer, you'll find the fill location for daily checks for oil and transmission. We're now moving over to the driver's side of the cab. Let's go inside there. First, affixed to the door panel, we'll find all of our safety and warning information. As we also look down on this panel, you'll find this yellow placard, manufactured for City of Forest Grove, for date of manufacture, November of 2020, your 5-digit job number, cold tire inflation, gross vehicle weight rating, your VIN number, and then all of the fluid capacities for each of the components and fluid types. As we move just inside to the floorboard area, we'll look left of the brake, treadle, and foot pedal. To the left is your air horn and mechanical siren. These are both foot pedals which will control of those devices. As we move up to about the left knee of the operator, we'll find our master battery switch. And then to the right, you'll find your pump shift. We have instructions on this placard from road to pump, and then also from pump to road. Just remember you need 2 green indicators, pump engaged, and OK to pump for pump operations before leaving the cab. Let's take a look at the set of switches just directly above that. We have a siren brake, OK to engage the high idle, a high idle switch, and also a load manager. Once again, also future switch locations if they're necessary. As we move to the dash, you'll find your ignition and start switches on the left-hand side and the headlight control, dim and bright switch. On the very bottom, we'll find all of our gauges for your engine, from oil pressure, transmission, DEF level, fuel level, front and rear air. As we move to the upper portion, you're going to find water level, speedometer and tachometer, and then also volts. We do have a yellow placard in the upper left-hand corner. If you make any adjustments or change your vehicle, please update this placard for your operators. As we move to the right of the seated position, you'll find your climate control, heat and defrost. Just down from this location, we've got some switches. These are rocker switches for your engine brake setting, low, medium, and high, on and off. You've got an SRS fault indicator for your airbag, off-road traction, and also your mirror heat. As we move down, some memory switch, we have an auto start and also bell control. As we move further down onto the panel, you'll find your command zone. Tremendous amount of information right here at your fingertips. Please see the owner's manual for more information. Also your yellow diamond, pull to apply your system parking brake, and push to release. As we move further down, you're going to find officer window controls, DPF regen, and inhibit switches. You'll also find mirror controls for the flat mirror and then also the convex mirror. Let's go ahead and move from this location directly to the lower portion right next to about the right knee of the operator. This is your Allison transmission pad. We do have a note to pump in drive. General view overhead of the driving position. Starting on the left, you'll find your spotlight control module. And as we move to the right, a set of switches with some lighting control buttons. First, emergency master, roof light, roof momentary, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, and high beam flash. Once again, when the switch has been depicted, it will illuminate the outer edge of the switch module. Moving to the right, driver's side scene, front scene, officer scene, and opticom. Down the lower section, driver alley light, rear scene, officer alley light, and perimeter light. Let's go ahead and move directly behind the seat area mounted onto the EMS compartments. We'll find some additional information. This is going to be your breaker box for S1 Shoreline Power. As we move down from this location, you'll find your battery charger. When plugged into shore power, this will be active. And down at the lower section, you'll also find a speaker with volume control, and this is for your backup camera. As we move overhead, in the very center, you'll find this light indicating do not move your apparatus. If flashing, you have a compartment door open or ajar. Congratulations, Forest Grove, Oregon, on your new Pierce Fire apparatus, job number 34890. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.